Hello, hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello. Hi, Kathy.
Oh, let's see who is here.
Sally, hello,
Hi,
hello.
Sally. How are you guys? We're just going to take a minute for you guys to join us today.
I just want to, this was in the comments when we started, and food preparation and all that. That's not like, I think every country has different rules with regards to food safety and stuff. We don't really delve really in these types of topics. I think there's, like I say, classes and certifications that you have to
Do
do depending
they
on where
mean
you
food
live.
preparation? I wonder if they mean food preparation in like regular food, like food prep,
I don't
like
know, the
back.
prep
I don't
of
know.
like large batch prep, maybe cookie. Anyway, my point is like still every country has their right. So, and we don't really go into that the the
Hello,
nitty.
people are joining in. So we have hi June, Maria. Hey Katie.
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, sunny and hot. Oh, everybody's enjoying hot. Here, it's very, very hot. We are experiencing, I think, our first
A
heat
little
wave.
heat wave.
Yeah, but it's still kind of like from the sea, you get the nice breeze. But
Nice.
it's, I think in Madrid today it was 38 degrees of Celsius. Come on, somebody look it up. So,
Donna's
yeah, very, very
110.
feeling hot. So, everybody's experiencing hot weather. So, guys, stay hydrated, drink
Yeah.
lots of water.
Anybody from Australia? They're in winter. So
They're probably getting ready to build a snowman.
bonjour,
Oh,
and bonjour.
oh, and,
All right, hello everybody. So, if you follow along the live streams, last month I was talking about stencils and making stencils for the month, and then I was sick one day, and so I'm going to catch up on that live that we missed in May. And if you want to look back at one of them, the lives, it was, I think, May 17th is when I talked about making silk screens. So if you look in the replays, you can see that video. So today, what I'm going to be talking about is logo, making a stencil for whether it be your logo, maybe you're offering it to your customers. Christmas is coming. Logo cookies can work relatively easily on a quick ornament or in the middle of a Christmas tree or on a ugly sweater type design. So, and it's something that like is custom and you can kind of sell. So we're looking at that. So I thought I'd use my logo and Hans' logo for the
oh,
discussion. For the discussion
oh,
because it's nice to have a topic. So here, this is my logo and Hans' logo, and you can see obviously they're quite different. And so I'm going to look at each one separately. So let's start with Hans. So any questions, pop them in. Han will read them off to me.
yes. I see we
Great.
have few folks from Brazil where they are saying it's freezing.
Oh yeah, it's cold in Brazil. Interesting. Sorry, I'm drinking. I have a tickle. I was we're a lot of excitement here. We got our first COVID case in the house. Woohoo for us.
Oh my
So
God.
every little thing feels like maybe, but it's my husband. Okay, so let's look at Hans' logo. So if we look at Hans' logo, we see four colors. You see Haniela's, then you see the piping bag is purple, the little blue nozzle, and then green underline, okay? So here I'm looking at the colors. I did a little swatch on the side. So if you airbrush, you know that airbrushing is translucent. So when you layer colors, you get the secondary colors. So the piping bag, because it's included with the Haniela's, when we layer on top with the blue, that part will become purple, if that makes sense. You can see the little circles there. You see I overlapped them, and you can see in the middle that is purple. So because that piping bag with the Haniela's part doesn't include the nozzle, that will be purple when I come in and do that blue airbrush section. Does that make sense? Are you
Yes,
getting that?
yes.
Yes?
Yes, it does make sense to me. Anyone
Okay.
who wants to use that font that my logo is made out of, it's not a font, it's my handwriting. Because I get asked that what's the font? So
Oh,
it doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist. It was designed by a friend, wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's the first thing. So you want to kind of look at your logo and say, okay, well, how many colors? And maybe you want to simplify, but if you want to keep it true, that's what we're talking about today, keeping it true to what it is. We'd have essentially 3 colors, but on the finished product, we'd have 4 colors. The other thing you want to look at is the size. There's a limit to how small you can go. Sometimes you want to have just like whatever the logo be, a cookie, 3 inches. So maybe you want the logo to be 2.5 to 2 inches. Well, there's a limit to how small you can go because every time you shrink the logo down, you're losing detail and the width of the lines becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. And so if you've got a tiny logo, let's say an inch wide, well, there's no way you can either pipe or even stencil. The stencil can't be made. There's a limit to how small you can go, right? Oh, is anybody getting feedback? June is hearing feedback. I seem to, do I sound fine to you?
Yes, you sound fine to me. Yes. Thanks for.
Okay, so moving right along. So that's sizing. You want to take that into consideration. Okay. The other thing is if, let's say now, we talked about using silkscreen stencils, that you wouldn't have bridges, and bridges are the little pieces to hold your stencil together. So here I created bridges in Han's logo so that if she was to make it in plastic and hand cut it, let's say, well, those little white areas, you see them, I circle those in red. That's these white little bridges I created so that the stencil would actually hold together. And this one here has even more bridges. You can see I added even more. You wanted secondary bridges for the sections, and those are in blue. So you can decide how many you actually want in the logo.
Let's see, a few more folks are having some audio issues, but sorry, folks, it's out of our hands. Sometimes these things are unpredictable.
And
So
what's weird is today we don't have 2 cameras. I'm not running 2 cameras. If I had 2 cameras, I'd understand because sometimes that one.
yeah.
Sorry, guys. What is Denise asking here? I do sometimes. I do. I use here in Canada, they sell a brand called Cell that works very nicely. And I actually use a vegan made out of cornstarch egg. And if you look that up, I think it's like a tablespoon of cornstarch to 3 tablespoons of water or something like that. You'll find easily, look up vegan cornstarch egg and you'll find the ratio. And that's what I use when I do the vegan kind of version. Okay. And then I'll add more flavoring because the butter is not as like flavorful, right? You don't have like the nice taste. Okay, so that was basically Han's logo to create the stencils. And then if you want here, I'm just going to show you guys quickly I'm going to share screen here. My silhouette. Here's my silhouette program. And when you're working with these cutting programs or even with the silk screen, you have to convert the logos into black and white. And that's why you saw them being black and white. So here I've got Han's logo in black and white. And you see this one doesn't have the bridges, but you need it in black and white. So right now I'm in Design Studio.
We are not, for whatever, hold on. We're not seeing your screen.
It's because of this. Sorry. So add to stream. There it is. Sorry, guys. So here you can see Han's logo. I dragged it in. This is Silhouette Design Studio. It's the app or the program that goes with a silhouette. And Cricut has a similar kind of program. And so now you need the text to be in black for the lines to be able to be generated for the program to recognize the design. So here what I'm doing is, this is her logo, and I want to create a a bump out and to cut the cookies. So here you can see, I don't know if you can see the red line. I'm just going to move it. And you can see there, you see, you can make a little bit of a bigger kind of size and have really like the cookie. I'm going to make it brown so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And there you'll end up with like a bigger kind of shape to create like the really like logo cookie. And if you want, you can obviously cut out the holes in the center. We don't want the holes. And you can simplify like these little kind of nooks and make it a little bit less, have a little bit less of like the tight detail. You see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of like making it a little bit less pointed, you know, like I'm not wrapping right around every little detail, but you're still getting a very custom shape. And then you can just cut this out of cardstock. Obviously, in the size you decide to make your stencil, and you'll be able to hand cut your cookies and have these very custom stencils.
We do have a question from Sally. Kathy, I will get to your question right after Sally. So you use the single command in the software to create
you have a different program, Sally. You're using a Cricut. This is a silhouette. And yes, it's the offset, I think it's called. Yeah, offset. So it probably is the same name in the Cricut. And you see there, you get a nice bump out. And that applies for whatever you might be doing. Oh,
so we also have a question from Kathy, off topic. How much added time to dry flooded cookies if you've added corn syrup to your royal icing? I don't think you have to add much any time. Actually, I haven't experienced any issues when I use corn syrup in my icing, unless you use excessive amount, and then it probably won't even dry. But I haven't had to.
The only consideration I like factor if you're adding the corn syrup is if, let's say, you were planning on spackling. When I say spackling, I mean stenciling with royal icing. So you're laying a stencil and you're pressing hard.
Yes, that could be. I don't know how. Yes, I don't know. I mean, they cookies royal icing with a little bit of corn syrup up to 1/3 of a cup. It dries pretty well, but I haven't stenciled that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just talking like for the fragile aspect of it, but aside from that, if you're just piping, should be fine. Should be fine. Okay, so that was Han's version. So basically, then you'd create the 3 stencils. So let's look at here. No, it's not this. Where is it? Oh, it was this. So you see, you'd have to cut the pink section alone, the blue section alone, and the green section alone. And then you could airbrush like separately. So you'd cut, and you have to convert this into black. So you'd cut the pink, and you'd need the bridges if you're cutting it in plastic. If you're making it in silkscreen, you could just use it like that. And then you can make your 3-color stencil. So this gives you kind of the gist of working like to recreate a logo kind of like Han. So let me hide this. Is there any questions?
It looks like it's okay. June is using royal icing with syrup, and she's stenciling all the time, so no issues. So you shouldn't have any problems. I mean, if
that would be like the only consideration.
You kind of made that problem up, huh?
Well, no, but it's because the whole point of the corn syrup is to make it a little bit of a softer bite, I think, isn't it?
Yes, but it does dry. It's like it's not soft underneath like buttercream. It does dry. So
yeah, it should be fine. So okay, so let's look again at the 2 next to each other. My font is much more, I think, not stencil friendly. If I had to, like Han's, the thickness of her font is bigger. It's just chunkier. It's more kind of stencil friendly. Now, if you look at mine, you have all these fine lines, really not ideal.
I like the butterfly would be just appropriate to make. That would be nice stencil.
So if you're making something like a t-shirt with your logo, let's say, well, then you could break it up. Like, see, I have I put it in black and I separated what would be pinkish and what would be teal. But exactly like Han said, I'm going to opt to focus on the butterfly and just never mind everything else. So essentially, I'm just going to be creating a large butterfly with the crown, and that's going to be the focus of the logo. And for that one, you're creating first the area that is, you see the area that is pink, so that's on the left, and then the area that is white, that is on the right there. So I would airbrush the pink area and then come in with white royal icing on top so that it's opaque. And you want to add a little bit of food gel so that it hides the pink underneath. And essentially, this is what it would look like. Here you can see the two-tone.
So you
And
would
so you would layer.
stencil on top of it instead of, I thought you were going to use the M and hold it in place with mash, and then
Well,
airbrush
you could,
it, lift it up.
but like just I mean, this way I think is the fastest, and the logo doesn't require bridges. If you look at it, everything kind of has like, there's no holes, like those little kind of, like if we look at the logo here, like all the font, it would be impossible. Like just here, like when you cut it, it would hold together. Like there's no, like an A, like the hole in the A or a hole in the E, you see?
Sally's
Yeah.
asking, and to create the bridges, you just erase the lines in every spot as needed, right?
Yeah, that's it. So you're creating parts to kind of like cement the whole thing into one piece, right? You need to have
Oh,
these bridges.
have you actually uh, made these stencils?
I made mine in
Okay,
silk
can
screen.
we see it or
I
no?
it's the prototype.
Sorry, I'm putting you on a spot there.
I have it here. You can see I made it very big. I was
But this
going
is
to try to
great.
do it on an apron.
It's nice. Yeah, I think it would be on an apron or on a tote or something. Yeah, I think it would be
So
really
this
nice.
is like very big because I wanted to prototype it
And,
first.
you could get like a fabric spray paint if there are any, and you could. Oh, look at this, nice.
And this is silk screen, and so I had put it on an ornament, like I say, like for Christmas. And what you could do is you make some prototypes and you write like, see, it says your logo here to market it to your future customers so that, they can kind of say, oh, I'd like some custom cookies for Christmas. And they want to maybe offer some branded cookies, like a company, like for example, real estate agents give like, housewarming, when they sell a house or this type of stuff, you know. I
So,
think
does the amount of meringue powder causes more or less shine in a real icing? Now, meringue powder, egg whites is what's causing the shine.
mhm.
Egg white. You know when egg white, have you ever had an egg white, let's say, you cracked an egg and some of the egg white was left on the counter and then you came back 2 days later and there was this very shiny area. So that's the egg white, that's the protein that makes it shiny in combination with how fast it dries. If your cookies are drying for 2 days, I mean, royal icing, then it's going to be, difficult to get that shine. But it's also, you have to be careful though, because if you add too much meringue powder, then the royal icing behaves differently, and if it's not too much, it behaves differently. So you have to find the ratio that works, I guess, for your particular climate.
I think the brands sometimes do have it, like, you know what I mean? Like they vary. Amber, when she does her recipe, if you want to check out her recipe, she puts more and she says that makes the icing not dry as quickly, which gives her
I unfortunately haven't had that experience. More I add, faster it sets. Maybe
yeah.
it's Amber said that she sees the difference when icing is rested, and then she does the flooding. Then it takes
Ah,
longer for it to. I almost think like it's as it rests, maybe it's weakening. I don't know. I don't know. Although I'm not sure. I haven't done testing in that. If it's rested and it's not behaving as crusting as fast. But yes, it is the amount. Not the meringue powder is it's made out of dry egg whites. There are some other additives, so it's not just meringue powder. It's the egg whites itself in it that are making it shiny.
So I do have a favorite, but sadly my brand is local and they don't ship. It's a local manufactured product here and sold to restaurants. So, but Han uses something that you guys can
Just,
easily access.
I have been using Wilton for many years, many years, and then recently with the decorating kits that we ship from Global Valley, we send out. I think it's a CK or no Celebakes, which I have at or and CK also. So I tried both, and they both work fine. I don't really have any issues in regards different using different royal icing or mixes, meringue powder mixes. Sorry. Um,
Maria, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really like studied the ingredients of each brand, right? Han, you too? I mean,
yeah, the thing is on the label, it's not really specified what's the ratio of egg whites to other
right.
ingredients, so it's very difficult. Obviously, for the reason it's a recipe, it's a formula. So if they give out the formula, they won't have to, they could just mix
Yeah.
it yourself because it's just egg white, dry egg whites, and the additives that you can look on the label. There is usually cream of tartar. There is maybe sometimes anti-caking agents like cornstarch maybe in there, to keep everything in
Some of them
powder.
I think even add a bit of flavoring because I find some
Yes,
smell
like
differently.
sometimes yes, the flavoring. So a lot of people swear by certain brands. Genie, I think Genie meringue powder. I don't know if somebody can attest to it here. Um, so yeah, everybody seems to like different things. I guess it also depends on the style of the decorating that you are using or you are comfortable with. Let's say maybe for writing, sometimes different meringue powder is better because it stretches better, it's more flexible. So you just have to do your own testing, and depends on also it can be very costly
Well,
too.
now everything is getting so expensive. I recently actually purchased, I didn't talk about it, but I recently purchased a vegan meringue powder. It was available on Amazon and I absolutely hated it. It was
Yeah,
horrific.
it was horrific.
It
That's
was
why
really
you use meringue powder, meringue powder, vegan royal icing recipe on my blog.
Yeah, you
It
did it
is
with aquafaba.
aquafaba. I mean, there is, I believe there is still like aquafaba in dry form. I guess you can dry it because it's protein. That's why you can use it. It's protein. It's when you first use it, it smells horrible. But with addition of some flavoring and lemon extract, it kind of cuts down on the flavor. But some people are more sensitive and they have a very sensitive, I guess, palate or something, so they can still pick up the taste. So it's really not for everyone, I would say.
When you did your aquafaba, did you do the lemon thing? Because lemon is such a
There's,
strong,
there is lemon in it. There is
yeah. So
lemon.
then I would imagine that it masks it very
And
well.
lemon almond. No, I get a lot of positive feedback. People
Yeah.
say they do like it occasionally. But like I said, some people are more sensitive to these because it has a nutty taste. The brine, chickpea brine, and also use the canned chickpea brine because homemade it's very hard to. It's not hard to make, but we don't know how long do they cook it for, how
Yeah.
concentrated is it. So you can obviously make it, but and you can freeze it. That's what's good about it because you will have a lot left when you drain a can of chickpeas. So you can freeze it in an ice cube tray and then
Oh,
have it ready, and then defrost it and use it in your royal icing.
I did like I bought a vegan royal icing mix and I did like that as opposed to the meringue powder. I didn't like that. But the royal icing mix it was a virgin ice, I think, the one I tried, and it was very nice if you want to mix.
Now, what about some butter flavor? Is it too early? Now, when it comes to royal icing, you really don't want to add anything oily to it,
Yeah.
unless it's maybe like a baking emulsion or something like that. That is usually water based. That should be fine to use when it's water based, but avoid using like Lawrence oils or something like that. That will highly
Oh,
effective,
yeah.
especially the drying of the royal icing. Usually it just won't dry or it will just stay tacky or something of
And that's not a suggestion. That's like
it's
absolutely,
like it's like no, don't use oil or oil-based products in your royal icing.
because you're gonna, all your work will be for naught.
But there are some, like I said, I think there's like a butter flavor that is baking from Lauren Oils also, but it's a bakery like emulsion or something like that. And those are usually water based for people who can have alcohol and such.
I don't. Do you sift your flour?
I do see flour now. It really depends on the quality of the flour, where you're getting your flour. For example, like King Arthur, I love King Arthur flour. That they, I think, in my opinion, they have one of the best flours, the all-purpose. So I wouldn't have to sift that. But if you get like a generic brand and it's really like packed, I don't, I don't mean, I don't sift it. What I do, I have a I buy the flour and I dump it into my glass flour jar, right? And then I use it. And before I add it, before I add it to the dough, I will sift it now.
So here's a question for you. Do you use a scale? Because when you sift your flour, it becomes more airy. And if you use a measuring cup,
Sift it after. When I make the cookies, I don't usually the sugar cookies. I don't usually use a scale, but I find it very controversial. I have to say because I've tried weighting flour so many times, and it always comes for me 1 cup. When I do the what's it called, scoop and dip or dip and skip or
yeah.
whatever the method is, it's always 143 grams or around there. As opposed to online, you look, it's 120 grams. So I think it must be the sifted flour that weighs 120 because otherwise, I mean, I don't know. So you can weight it, but obviously using the scale, it's the way to go to avoid any disappointments. And because there is a cup in US that can be 250 milliliters. Then there is a cup that could be 236 milliliters. How do I know? I have them all. Then in Australia, I think they have a different cup that has a different volume as well. So it really depends where you are. So if the recipe offers the grams and like the metric that you can weight the ingredients, weight the ingredients. Sometimes we don't obviously have the scale, so then you use the cup. I have a favorite scale listed in my Amazon shop. It's like I love that scale. It has like a retractable display, so if you have a large bowl on your scale, you can pull it out, and
Yeah.
it's just so great to have a good scale.
For me, I prefer the meringue powder just because I don't have to like get rid of my yolk. Like I find it, I hate having to then think about what am I going to do with this yolk and putting it down the drain. I do like just having the meringue powder and I can kind of easily work. That's what like for me.
I have been using both fresh egg whites and meringue powder. Fresh egg whites, I do have things that I can use the egg yolk. I have lots of recipes that I can put the egg yolk in. But if I can, I prefer meringue butter myself. You can use egg whites, but then into the egg whites you have to add few things to make it more stable. Meringue powder is already, there are additives, like I said, cream of tartar that stabilizes it and also it makes it whiter. There are maybe some flavorings, anti-caking agents and things like that. You can look on the label. They usually provide ingredients on the back of the packaging on the label. But you can you can use if there is nothing else that you can find, but you can find egg white powder. But make sure it's the dry egg whites, not some kind of a substitute or
Yeah.
How do you know the first ingredient should be dry egg whites?
Egg whites.
Or something like that. If it's first ingredient powdered sugar, then it's something is not right.
So Han learned that moving to Spain,
There,
that powdered sugar.
I'm a professional sifter now.
Yeah, because
Oh my goodness! But in the States, I never sifted anything.
yeah, and here in Canada, Montreal, I don't ever sift my sugar either.
Yes.
So I think it's really depending on your products that are available to you guys.
Exactly. Try product, like buy, because even like certain sugars, even though they have all the powdered sugar has anti-caking, right? Or usually 30%. Oh, sorry, 3%. Sorry, 3%. That's usually cornstarch or some kind of a starch. Even with that, under certain condition, it can become,
Yes, of course.
that
Yes.
you could have some lumps in it. So if that's the case, sift your sugar because you will be mad that you didn't. Once you make your royal icing, it's very hard. You have to then squeeze it through nylons or something to get the lumps out.
Get
So,
the links out.
but
Absolutely.
I in the States I didn't because the powdered sugar was so powderized. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. If you're weighing, then you don't have all these measuring cups. That is an added thing. So Jenny, you use the egg whites. It's absolutely an option, but for me, you have to make a lot, or else like it can't. I guess you can freeze it, but and so that's it. Like I would buy it sometimes, and then I'd end up throwing half of it in the garbage. So with the powder, I have less waste. I find so.
I guess the carton egg whites are also, I think, those are the pasteurized egg whites, so those are
Yeah.
good to use. Have you experienced any bleeding, Jenny, with pasteurized egg whites? Usually, I mean, in the past when I used it, I did experience some color bleed.
Oh,
Yes.
I can't.
Here they do sell pasteurized egg whites, which what I find really interesting. Here they sell eggs and egg products like pasteurized egg whites, and eggs outside of the refrigerated area.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
yes, it's like I remember when we first came, I was looking for eggs, and I thought they don't have eggs in Spain. What am I gonna do? Because I couldn't. I was like, where are the eggs? And I was passing them all the time, but I just wasn't. I wasn't expecting them to be next to
Oh,
chocolate or something.
you're gonna have to get some chickens.
I'm sorry.
You're gonna have to get some chickens.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Yes. So that was yeah. So thank you for that. So guys, do you have any more questions? We're going to wrap it up today soon. So
So
thank you for
on
the,
Friday, I'm in the hot seat again on Friday, and it's I think Amber. Let me see. On the 17th, yeah, I'm in the sweet seat, hot seat, whatever you want to call it, and Han is off, so I'll be here on Friday with Amber. And somewhat undecided as of yet what I'm doing. Hopefully, I'll still be healthy. I won't catch whatever my husband has been.
we yes. I hope you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yes. But I find that he doesn't seem to, like, I don't know. I think I read an article about men not being as aware of germ, like transmission, So, like, oh, I only touched this type thing. So anyway, we'll see how
I'm such a germaphobe. I'm not a germaphobe, but even before the COVID, my husband would be always laughing, like, "Why are you wiping the whole cart in the store?" It wasn't the whole cart. I was wiping the handle. I'm like, well, because I mean, it's why like I'm like because I mean, it's hard to explain. Because that's the answer. And so now I don't wipe anything in a store, but when we get in a car, it's like he's in the habit now. So I'm like, this is so funny because the minute we sit down, can I have the wipe? I'm like a wipe lady here, so yeah.
well,
So
we're all
our hands are always
covered.
clean now. Always. I mean, they were always clean before, but we still. Thank
Things are
you.
very different now.
Yes.
Glad you enjoyed it, Maria, and thanks so much for joining us.
Okay, so let's answer this question really quickly. Well, it could be a lot of things. Well, a lot of things. Your icing may be too thick. Maybe you have a heat source around you. Maybe you have a fan running close by. Maybe it's very very hot where you
Or
are.
dry. Maybe you live in the desert.
Yes, maybe you live in a dry area. Maybe the recipe has to be tweaked somewhat to make it more what would be the non-crustable
Fluid or
fluid.
yeah.
Try adding some white food coloring. if you have some white food coloring, it usually it has some properties that can delay crusting. And I don't know how advanced you are. If you are a beginner and you're trying to do flat on wet on wet technique, um, and if you're using icing that is too runny and then it's falling off the cookie, try to use an outline consistency first to outline, and then use the flood that you are able to use with it without the crusting and achieve the design. You will have the outline, but yes, it's probably not something, some people don't like the outline, but
At least
you
it's gonna work.
at least it will work and your icing is not going to fall off the cookie. I don't know if that's your case.
Yeah, my same suggestion. And I mean, the border, it's you can also call it a dam. So it's essentially holding your icing onto the area where you want it. So you can work with a more fluid icing and give you more wiggle time. But the climate is often under considered in your process. So your climate is going to make huge impacts with regards to your icing, because the whole point of that is evaporation, right? So it's evaporating as you're working.
I wonder if altitude also could have something to do with it,
Perhaps, absolutely, yeah.
Perhaps, I don't know. I know in baking it does, but perhaps I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for all your questions, guys, and we will be back on Tuesday at our regular time, 1 p.m. Marlene will be here with Amber of Sweetens.
Yeah. See you Friday.
See you Friday. Stay cool and don't forget to hydrate in this heat.
Oh my gosh, yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.